Hello, Malcolm. I'm excited to be speaking with you today because we're going to be talking about how leftists are being sterilized by SSRIs. We've already touched on the fact that fertility rates among people on the left and the right are diverging and more quickly than before, that sort of the left is just is tanking. And
They are circling the drain of society at this
and
point,
faster and faster.
screaming
Um,
into the void.
it's clearly it's cultural. We've also talked about how maybe it's also a result of infectious disease and parasites disproportionately
I'd
affecting
also
people.
point out that SSRIs more broadly have become known as like really negative. So I decided to run a sentiment analysis on X of what people are saying about SSRIs.
Oh yeah?
80% of the posts right now on X about SSRIs are negative, with
That
only 10% being
wow.
positive and 10% being neutral.
Oh, that's very interesting.
And we can go
Wow.
into that more later in this. But yeah,
Okay.
basically everyone is now like SSRI. Well, growing up, it felt like there was this campaign to normalize SSRIs really, really strongly. Like everybody needs to be on them. They're this miracle drug. And now I think now that media has sort of decentralized and you can't have these centralized campaigns anymore, people's individual experiences are coming through.
Wow. Okay.
But continue.
Yeah, I mean, so that there's that. Obviously, people are becoming increasingly critical of them, but it may be that largely left-leaning young people specifically are throwing off their sexual development by taking SSRIs, and the New York Times is trying to raise awareness about this, which is huge and really interesting because I didn't think about this element of it. So, according to a recent article in New York Times Magazine, quote, depending on the symptom, drug and duration of use, between 30 and 80% of adults taking SSRIs live to varying degrees with diminished desire, sensation, and function, according to a 2019 study in the Journal of Clinical
Wait, what
Medicine.
percent?
30 to 80% of
30
adults.
to 80%?
And it's not just, I thought, like, I mean, in the past, I've been vaguely aware of the fact that if you're on an SSRI, like maybe your sex drive is going to be down. But in this article, in which the author interviews like quite a few people who have experienced issues related to SSRIs that are sexual in nature, like sometimes we're just talking about like numbness of intimate areas, like beyond just diminished sex drive, like actual pretty serious issues. And the problem, and what the New York Times is really trying to begin to delve into with this article, is that when this is happening to teens, like it's one thing with adults where this is pervasively understood and people are aware
Yeah.
of it and they're just experiencing real and also lasting effects. When this happens to a teen or an adolescent who's going through sexual development for the first time, this might permanently affect the way that they exist sexually. Kind of
Yeah.
is similar to how, you know, if you take youth gender medicine as a kid, it's going to permanently affect your sexual development. Maybe SSRIs are doing something similar. It's just that you don't really look at it as youth gender medicine. And really the crux of this too is that not only are psychiatrists, right? They're the ones who prescribe medication.
Yes, psychiatrists prescribe
Not
medication.
only are they loath to bring up sexual side effects with anyone, but like if you're about to prescribe an SSRI to, we'll say like a teenage boy or girl, and their parents present, they're present, you're not going to talk with them about sexual side effects because
It's a
then
really good
it's like,
point.
why are you warning my girl that she's not going to want to have sex? I don't want her to have sex. Like what, you know, like, so it's one of those issues where there's all these adverse incentives at play. But let's get into some of like just some, I think, illustrative, evocative case studies that this magazine article began with, because I think it helps to sort of set the scene.
Okay. Let's go.
Daniel Bergner interviewed that's the author of the article, more than 20 people with PSSD, that's post SSRI sexual dysfunction, for this article titled "More Teens Are Taking Antidepressants. It Could Disrupt Their Sex Lives for Years." So here's one. I'll just read the quote in which he has interviewed Marie. Marie began taking fluoxetine, the generic form of Prozac, when she was 15. The drug, an SSRI, a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, was part of her treatment in an outpatient program for an eating disorder. It took its toll on her sexuality. Quote, I was in touch with initial sparks of sexual energy relatively young, end quote, she said, remembering crushes as far back as the ages of 6 or 7. Shortly before starting on the drug, she was dazzled from a distance by a blue-eyed hockey player at school, tall and funny and charismatic. She recalled the fluster and fantasies he stirred. But on the medication, she felt infatuation vanish swiftly. And then, Marie said, I realized, I'm not developing new crushes. She had no clue that the drug might be the cause. I wasn't informed about sexual side effects. Even at the worst of the eating disorder, as the worst of the eating disorder abated, psychiatrists and family doctors told Marie and her parents that she should stay on the antidepressant. She complied while trying and failing to escape the sexual side effects. She traded fluoxetine for other antidepressants, including Wellbutrin, a different class of antidepressant, which sometimes prescribed to combat low libido. She's 38 now. So like our age, by the way, and been off psychiatric medication for 6 years, but sexual desire remains absent. Quote, for me, it's just an empty, dark space, she said. There's nothing there. Wow. There's another case that actually comes from a parent that this guy interviewed, which is kind of dark and sad. And keep in mind, we're talking about longitudinal cases.
Before we get to the parent thing, I actually want to take a side note here. It is true that SSRIs do lower sexual libido and everything like that.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I've been seeing a lot online is a lot of women identifying as ace or talking about how they never really felt, attractive, like active arousal towards other people. And Simone is this way too. Like if you diagnose her on a spectrum, you'd be ace, but for Malcolm, like you'd be asexual, but or at least that's what you tell me.
I'm gay for Malcolm. Yeah.
Who's to know if this isn't just something you tell me to keep me happy?
From the anecdotes of me trying to break into your room at night, but you've bolted the door.
But
dare you?
The point I was going to make here is I think that our society, because if you live around the urban monoculture, it tells you that your identity is what arouses you. Like that's the most important part of who you are, is the things that arouse you. And so, and indulging in those things is the best part of life. And I think some people, they grow up, and a lot of people, they grow up and they're just like, but like those things aren't that powerful or aren't that great. And I think that if you are a teenage guy or girl, sexuality might be like a really strong and big part of your life. And in some percent of the population, sexuality stays a really strong and big part of their life as they age.
Yeah.
However, I think I might even argue the average person, just like when you're a adult, sexuality, and I'm talking like 30s here, right, which this person is just not that big a thing. It's like not that big a deal. And I think that many people misdiagnose themselves, especially women, as asexual or not having sexual desire, when what they actually have is reactive sexual desire, which over 50% of women have, which means you only get aroused when somebody is actively basically like rubbing on you, acting on you, making a move on you, right? Like you don't just like look at somebody and get turned on in the same way that it's being sold to you is going to happen.
Ooh, interesting theory, because a really big element in the past associated with courting often had to do with dancing, like ballroom dancing, waltzing, etc. I wonder if part of that kind of naturally evolved as a cultural mechanism to ignite reactive desire in women.
I think it did, forcing people to touch each other and dance around.
And in a coordinated fashion also, while making eye contact. Yeah, interesting. But I am going to make an argument a little bit later as to why actually this is pretty damaging when it comes to even, we'll say, non-sexual relationship formation. So we'll get there. But one more little case study that I was like, oof. So reading again from the article, one of the most haunting accounts I heard of PSSD came from a parent. Ruth told me that a couple of decades ago, her daughter was prescribed Zoloft, an SSRI, at 11. 11. Sorry, I just think that's crazy. By a psychiatrist after a humiliating incident at school, left her feeling out of sorts and anxious. About the prescription, Ruth said, I guess I thought it was a good thing. She spoke of her naivete at the time and the blind trust in psychiatry. Her daughter wound up staying on the drug for a decade until 2011. Only after the past few years has Ruth learned from her daughter about the sexual side effects that she still lives with and about her grief. Her erogenous zones don't work, Ruth said. It makes me deeply sad because our sexuality, the pleasure we get from our bodies and our intimacy with another person, it's such a beautiful experience. It helps us not feel alone. Thinking back, Ruth said, I have a huge, terrible regret about allowing her child to be medicated. I can't believe I so easily said yes. And I think this is indicative of the broader thing. I'm with you, Malcolm, that like, I don't care that much if like people aren't feeling intense hedonic pleasure from sex, but I think it's still notable. So now basically, as the New York Times article is pointing out, there's this slow bubbling rise in discussion about PSSD. More professionals are starting to recognize it. It's being a little bit more recognized in academic literature. So for example, the DSM-5, which is the most recent edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, states that, quote, in most cases, serotonin reuptake inhibitor-induced sexual dysfunction may persist after the agent is discontinued. And this is kind of a big deal because I think most people thought that the side effects only happen while you're taking the thing. And now it's becoming increasingly recognized to have lasting effects. Also from the article, the EU's European Medicines Agency has issued similar words of caution, as have regulators in Canada, Australia, Hong Kong, and the United States. Prozac comes with a warning about the problem, and advocacy groups for consumers are pushing for the Food and Drug Administration to require all SSRIs, the most commonly prescribed class of antidepressants, to carry such warnings. So just a little bigger picture thing. How many people are actually on SSRIs? I mean, as you pointed out, Malcolm, they are becoming less popular. They're becoming more criticized, but still approximately 11 to 13% of American adults report current use of antidepressants, with selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors making up the majority of those prescriptions. So 1 out of 10 people, at least in the US, is on one of these now. And remember that the side effects are lasting. Recent national health surveys. What?
Did you take SSRIs?
Never.
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did. I don't know for how long. I do remember taking them, but I don't remember for how long.
Well, keep in mind, my family just didn't believe in, it was never something we talked about. My parents were never like, well, we don't believe in taking medicine, but like,
oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, I took SSRIs for only a short period.
Yeah.
And I took lithium for a much longer period.
Yeah, but that was only because like your mom kind of forced you.
Yeah, my mom was crazy, and if we'd act up, she'd be like, "Oh, this must be because there's something wrong with it." Like basically, she went through mood swings all the time, and she would assume that it was us going through a mood swing rather than her going through a mood swing. Because she's like, "But you behave so differently between different weeks," and I'm like, "It's you, Mom."
Was lithium the thing that paralyzed you?
It might have been. Yeah, something caused like bad effects. I stopped taking
something
all my
that
medication.
Your mom had made you take that you were still taking when we met caused you to get like paralyzed sometimes.
Yeah, and I stopped taking.
Really freaking freaked me out.
I don't. What's funny is the drugs that I would promote for our kids is all of the drugs that other people would freak out the most about. I think Ritalin is a really useful drug for young people. Just get them on amphetamines. You know, like you need that to study sometimes. You know, it's hard when it's, 2 a.m.
Yeah, except here's the thing. I kind of question that we'll need them because you need them when you're working within a system that's inherently broken, like the school system where you like need to do all these things. But I don't know if our kids are going to be playing.
I used it to get like work projects done. It is useful to get stuff done.
You don't use it now, and you get a lot done. You're insanely productive. You go into deep focus all the time. I think also the thing with ADHD and ADD is you focus on stuff you know to be important and interesting.
Yeah, I literally haven't taken one in like 10 years.
That's because you do work that you find to be meaningful and interesting.
Yeah, but as a kid, not everything you do is going to be meaningful.
That's fair. I guess, yeah. When you have to learn stuff that you don't think is useful and that you don't want to learn.
And then, of course, the other one that I always promote on the show, and everyone should be on, I think it should just be a mandated drug, is naltrexone. It's an opioid agonist that prevents addictive pathways from firing in your brain. Yeah. And it completely transformed. Like everything I do is my life. Like the way I spend my time online, the way I, I stopped using social media after it. Like literally, I stopped, I go to my Facebook account and it's like cobwebs. It used to be the first thing I would check every morning. I stopped compulsively refreshing newspaper sites. I stopped compulsively refreshing investment tickers. I stopped, like all of the compulsive stuff I would do online just
It really was a
disappeared.
constant thing for you. Yeah. Yeah. That's although you are pretty hooked on Korean romance manga. So
What's gotten me off of that is prepaying for one that I think is like okay, but pretty boring.
oh, I know.
So I'm not like drawn to it when other things are happening.
It's so funny.
Getting stuck in a boring one has been great to break my addiction because I'm like, well, I prepaid for it. I gotta read through the whole thing.
Yeah. So, okay, about, 10 to 11 to 13% of Americans in general are taking SSRIs. According to the article, about 2 million 12 to 17-year-olds in the United States are on SSRIs. One large 2024 study in the Journal of American Academy of Pediatrics tallied month by month the percentage of that age group who filled an antidepressant prescription between 2016 and 2022. During that time, the rate climbed by 69%, with the COVID pandemic's emotional reverberations almost surely playing a part, though notable rise was underway before then. Among college students in 2023 to 24, according to a survey with over 100,000 participants, 22% had taken an antidepressant during the previous year. This was up 8% from 2007. So keep in mind, young people are taking them more. And actually, this is totally unrelated. This morning, I was going through a British psychology digest in my email about there used to be this sort of happiness shaped curve with like sort of how happy you were in life, where like people were happier when they were young and then very old. But now it's just kind of going upward. Like you just get happier as you get older because young people are so miserable. So it kind of dovetails with this. Like the youth mental health crisis is real. And a lot of them are turning to SSRIs. But then, in terms of like how many SSRI users are affected by this, I don't like it's hard to tell because the reporting's so shoddy. In the article, the author writes in one study, ED, I'm not going to say what, the thing where you have trouble getting, affected less than 1% of former SSRI users, while another found that genital numbness impacted at least 13% of those surveyed. Numbness, I never heard about that as a side effect.
I never heard about this either, no.
Yeah, but either way, PSSD may have urgent implications for young people. So this is where I think you're missing the importance of the effect of this with regard to, we'll say, like relationship formation and everything.
And it is important to note, to what Simone's doing, that progressives take psychoactive medications like SSRIs.
Oh, I'm going to go into the stats on this in a little bit.
Continue.
Yeah. But first, I just want to point out why this matters. So it is well known that SSRIs do have a sexual dulling effect in general. As the author points out, quote, because of their predictable dulling effects, SSRIs have long been used as an off-label treatment for premature ejaculation, which also I didn't know, but like they're so well known to cause problems that they're like, oh, you're coming too fast. Here, take an SSRI. But what's underplayed is how SSRIs will affect what we would argue matters more, which is interest in dating at all, like high school crushes and infatuation, which is what was pointed to in that first anecdote, which is why I wanted to read it. So serotonin plays a really distinct and evolving role in infatuation and love bonding. Like, I'm not even talking about the act of sex or making out or anything physical. I'm talking literally about like this stuff that gets people to date and maybe eventually get married and like be interested in the opposite sex. During early stage infatuation, serotonin levels tend to decrease, which is a change linked to obsessive, intrusive thoughts and behaviors, frequently described as a hallmark feature of new romantic attraction. But what else? Oh, also like OCD and anxiety, which is what SSRIs are meant to treat. So the problem is, if people are taking SSRIs to treat things like obsessive compulsive disorder, or that you're also treating that sort of I can't stop thinking about you infatuation associated with early love. You're making it impossible for people to experience the thrill of limerence and new relationship energy, which we've had people who listen to this podcast be like, man, like, I have thriving young kids, but they're just not really interested in dating at all. And the thing is, like, if you don't feel crushes, if you don't feel that infatuation, why would you bother? Honestly, like it's just all downside, not upside. I think it's one of the few things that really gets
Simone,
people.
this is so fun that now when somebody tells you like I'm asexual or aromantic, you can just be like, "Are you on SSRIs?" Just to
No,
F
but
with it, because
seriously.
you know like 80% of the time the answer is going to be yes, and you're going to be it's probably the SSRI.
Yeah, it's just the SSRI. Or yeah. Or yeah, just same with
I
like,
can't imagine how like blown top a progressive is going to be if you pull that on them.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
probably the SSRI.
Well, and also the it's not just so I want to point that out though. Like in terms of like the larger people aren't getting married problem, I think one of the few things that did get people out and dating when otherwise it's just so scary is that thrill. And the
Well, this
thrill
is
is being robbed of them.
the thing is they're also like not even that effective. I remember the period I was on SSRIs, I did not feel any different. Like I certainly wasn't happier.
No, really.
So wildly, there was actually a study on this, a meta-analysis in 2022 in molecular psychiatry, which showed SSRIs outperformed placebos by only a very thin margin with an effect size of only 0.3, which is no better than exercise or therapy. So they're tanking their sexuality and fertility for nothing, for no real benefit. And if you want to come at me and be like, oh no, SSRIs would work so well for me, it's like, yeah, placebos are really good. Like, placebos actually do work very effectively. If you are curious how out of control things have gotten, there was a study called Antidepressant Dispensing to Youth, Adolescents, and Young Adults, 2016 to 2022, that was looking at how much the rate of SSRI prescriptions had increased over that period. So if we go from 2016 to 2022 and we're looking at females aged 12 to 17, the rate of prescriptions increased 129.6%. If we look at females age 18 to 25, it increased 56.5%. If we look at males aged 12 to 17, there was not an increase. And if we looked at males aged 18 to 25, there was not an increase, which I think correlates strongly with females becoming more progressive here, because as we've seen in many, many other studies, progressives are way lower on happiness ratings than conservatives and have been since the Pew started recording the data on this, but it's been getting worse over time. And progressive, both depression and anxiety symptoms are way higher than they are in conservatives. Same with females, and this is increasing over time.
Truth is the enemy of happiness. Have you had your joy, Ollie?
People in town are unaliving at unprecedented rates, and nobody's having kids anymore.
And they're painting the streets in rainbows. Have you not noticed?
Oh, Ollie.
Why are you all wearing those ridiculous new
Gender identities.
You should get one. They shape your face into a smile, and when you smile, you can't help being happy.
We have to tell people. They need to know the truth.
No! It's better not to know. We're practically the only two people in this entire city not stoned out of our minds on joy.
Yeah,
The way that one person in the article described it, who was taking SSRIs for anxiety or something, was that it didn't make the anxiety go away. It like provided a moat around it. So like it was there, but it couldn't get to him as easily. Is that kind of how it felt? Because I don't
no,
know.
it literally nothing, not different in any way.
Also, no wonder you took it for only such a short period of time. But the New York Times also points to other ways SSRIs may be causing sexual dysfunction. So Bergner, the author, interviewed Dr. Erwin Goldstein, who's a clinical professor of urology at the University of California, San Diego. He's a specialist in sexual medicine who sees about 50 to 75 new patients each year for ED. And here's a quote from the article. Dr. Goldstein has been researching the role of SSRIs in his patients' ED problems and noted that SSRIs can cause an overproduction of what are called oxygen radicals, leading to scarring and malfunctioning. The physiological effect of SSRIs within the can I say the P word? Within the PP, within the flippy, as our children call it. Within the flippy. Technical term.
Scarring in the flippy?
In the flippy, yes, scarring in the flippy looked closely akin to the impact of aging and diseases that are well-established contributors to ED. So it's scarring your flippy. Recent studies have linked SSRIs just to lower sexual performance. So Bergner noted in a 2010 study published in Biological Psychiatry, researchers gave male rats a generic Prozac at the age of rat adolescence, allowed sufficient time for the drug to clear from their system. So again, they're not on it anymore. Then monitored the male's sexual behavior in adulthood when in the presence of a receptive female. Compared with a control group, the previously medicated rats were much slower to mount and took much longer from starting sex to ejaculation, and within any one session ejaculated much less often. Not all similar experiments have produced data quite so definitive, and results with female subjects have been a bit more blurry, maybe because female rodent sexuality is trickier to measure. But all in all, the rodent research carries cautionary implications. So the SSRIs are scarring the whippies, and they're making the male rats who took it in adolescence mount more slowly, ejaculate less, and ejaculate later. So ejaculate. It's not good. Okay. It just seems like from soup to nuts. Almost literally.
From soup to nuts, literally. You, Simone.
You're welcome.
This is how the abuse starts.
This is
bad jokes.
I'm a mom. It's a mom joke.
It was so funny to watch a fan doing like a reaction to our content, because they were like recording like what they thought, and just watching somebody watch our content and regularly crack up. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that people are like actually laughing when we start laughing at things.
Well, we have fun. We have fun here. But yeah, so like literally from limerence, from like getting a crush on someone to actually nutting inside them, you're completely getting screwed over by SSRIs. And yes, leftists use more SSRIs. I mean, there's not obviously direct survey data or like prescriptions on like.
I want to hear the data here. Come on.
Large national surveys consistently show that liberals or Democrats report worse mental health outcomes than conservatives or Republicans, and the gap has widened in recent years.
And it's not because they're taking fewer drugs or seeing the psychologist less.
Oh no, that has certainly nothing to do with it. I am absolutely confident. There are two great studies you can look to at this if you want the souse, whichever one in the comments is like, where are the links to the articles? Well, if you paid to subscribe on Substack or Patreon, thank you so much to our supporters, by the way. I link to the studies that we look at in our episode.
Wait, you do?
Yeah, which I put in. I put in the Substack and Patreon articles.
Nerd.
Yeah. So anyway, but for those listening, I'm going to throw you a bone. See, distressed Democrats and relaxed Republicans, partisanship and mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's the title of one study.
These people, they lack the ability to Google stuff.
Yeah.
I swear that's it. Because I always listen to
title. That's the title. Google it. Another title: The Politics of Depression: Diverging Trends in Internalizing Symptoms Among U.S. Adolescents by Political Beliefs. So the first study I just named, they found that Democrats reported consistently higher levels of mental distress than Republicans during the pandemic. That this partisan distress gap predated the pandemic, but was exacerbated by it, especially among white Americans. And white Democrats experienced the greatest increase in distress, resulting in a widening distress gap between Democrats and white Republicans, well, both white Democrats and Republicans. And then the second one, the Politics of Depression one, found that all adolescents show a rising internalizing symptoms, but increases are most pronounced among female liberals. Big surprise, especially those with low parental education, which I hadn't heard before. Female liberal adolescents had the largest increase and highest absolute scores for depressive affect, particularly those from less privileged backgrounds. So trailer trash girls, watch out. And male conservative adolescents had the lowest increases and the best scores across internalizing symptom scales. So basically, across people who rate their mental health as poor or who screen positive for depression, a greater proportion identify as liberal than conservative. But also, conservatives are less likely to seek mental health treatment or to acknowledge mental health problems, which suggests some of the difference may just reflect reporting bias. But here's the thing. is if you don't report it and you don't get treated for it, you're not going on SSRIs. And if you're not going on SSRIs, you're not essentially downstream going to sterilize yourself through all these negative sexual effects.
But should we be disrupting the cycle to get rid of the progressives that they're infected with parasites and
they're just
taking drugs that lower their arousal patterns?
Just want to die. They just want to end the cycle, Malcolm. Maybe we should just I don't know, let them put themselves out of their misery. But for those who want to see more research on that front, see mental health and mental health care utilization across political affiliation in US adults, all right, for the source people. But anyway, an important side note, doctors, like I was saying at the beginning of this, are largely not telling patients, even adults, about sexual side effects. So from the article, I found this was really interesting. The author writes, Peggy J. Kleinenplatz, a professor of medicine at the University of Ottawa, told me about the moment that shed light on how family physicians and other primary care providers who write the majority of SSRI prescriptions in the United States and Canada might be thinking about informed consent with patients. In 2019, Kleinenplatz gave a presentation to family physicians at a Canadian medical conference. She asked her audience of some 50 doctors how many of them were aware of the sexual side effects of SSRIs. 80% raised their hands, she estimated. She asked how many informed their patients about these effects when they prescribed. Just one hand went up. Then she asked why they didn't. They said, it's a matter of patient compliance. To inform about potential sexual side effects, they worried was to risk the patient not taking the drug the doctor thought necessary. So basically,
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. They're not telling their patients. They're like, I think the drug is more important than your sex life. And the patient may disagree.
Consider that in an entire room of psychologists and psychiatrists, only one was willing to warn their patients about this. I think that shows what we often talk about here, which is to say you should be viewing these fields as adversarial to you. They do not care about you en masse. To find a good one is almost impossible. You should be looking for other solutions to these types of problems if you have them. And when we're talking about SSRIs, you can see our other videos on this. Keep in mind, this is me, who has a degree in neuroscience and a minor in psychology, and who worked in the UT Southwestern Translational Neuroscience Department. So I worked as a psychologist in like the most difficult capacity you can. And I am saying that the place that these industries have gone is antagonistic to you. And when you look at these really high rates of anxiety that people have, if you look at these really high rates of depression people have today, and we've done other videos on this, you see them more in people that are more privileged, especially in women that are more privileged. And we argue that what is likely causing them is that females are just not meant to be in environments where they have no real threats to them. And so if they are, especially at a young age, they invent threats and their brain basically breaks down.
Well, and I think that's just so interesting that like the left is all about hedonistic pleasure and everything, but they're also like, I don't care if this sterilizes you or causes, I think it's very much part of this trust the science or like just trust authorities thing of like, I know better.
Yeah, my doctor told me to take it, so I'm doing it.
Well, but also like, I know what's best for them, and I'm just going to go ahead and override what might be a preference in favor of something else because I know best. And so I'm just not going to tell them. But of course, this is really exacerbated with teens because even I would be like really hesitant to prescribe a teen boy or girl an SSRI. And even if I told adults about the sexual side effects, like imagine how pissed a mom would be at you as a doctor if you were like, listen, little Cindy Lou Who, like, I don't know if you want to take this because it might mess with your sex drive. And like, here's this mother being like, how dare
I can just
you?
imagine one of those scenes where like the parent is getting an increasingly horrified face in the background. It's just like boiling with rage.
Yes. So like, of course. And I think that probably means, maybe sentiment, as you've pointed out, against SSRIs just plummeting is going to be enough to kind of, I don't know, get people to stop taking them en masse. But in general, the incentives are such that this issue is not going to get resolved. The discussion around PSSD has been going since like 2004. Nothing has really changed. And the incentives just aren't there. Like doctors prescribing these SSRIs to kids have no incentive to bring up the sexual side effects. These teens are then going through decades of taking these and dealing with adverse effects for the rest of their lives. But kind of there's no accountability chain, and it's kind of hard to tell where these problems are coming from. And no one's getting paid to find out the root of the problem. Like no one profits from it. So no one's going to dig deeper. And I do admire and appreciate the New York Times for covering this and pointing this out as an issue to a largely progressive audience, because at least we're giving them the chance to.
What if they start breeding again? What if they start dating again?
It's too late, Malcolm. There's no changing it. Also, we have to consider all the other factors that are sexually dampening or sterilizing populations, also largely left populations. I mean, arguably parasites and other diseases, as we discussed in our episode.
But those make them more sexual.
Well, they make them more sexual, but in non-reproductive ways. So those who remain sexual are now like just getting toxoplasmosis and just having like fellatio. Also, keep in mind that the people who with toxoplasmosis had lower sperm motility and lower sperm count. So even when they did actually manage to come inside someone, they were not as likely to lead to a live birth. Plus, of course, we have the endocrine disruptor issue. We're constantly talking about.
That's who we're fighting against: the infected, the swarm.
We're constantly talking about the TIDE studies, which showed that
people in that other video had forgotten that we always talk about the TIDE studies.
Yeah, higher levels of endocrine disruptors in first trimester blood work in pregnant women, as measured by these studies, the TIDES studies. If you want to look them up, again, we provide references to things that you can look up. People
don't know how to do that. They don't know how to type.
Anyway,
I need to create an itemized list for our daily videos.
Yeah, well, that's what they're asking for. Like I said, I provide linked outlines and everything, all my notes and everything but on Patreon and Substack. So sorry, guys, you gotta show some support. I guess.
And why aren't you guys? Everyone should be subscribed on Patreon. We do weekend episodes. By the way, the weekend episodes, even all of it, they're very different structure than the weekday episodes. They're typically just like an idea we're still trying to think through, or like something that I don't.
Behind the scenes stuff, personal stuff. It's fun. I really like them, and our communities.
So it's like really useful, like the one about how you do large batch meals.
Yeah, and like our travel tips and stuff like that. Anyway, there's more if you want it. Subscribe on Patreon. But yeah, so there's endocrine disruptors that are causing even people from like in utero, like men, to become less male. Their anogenital distance is shorter when they come out, meaning that like basically like, again, they're flippy, didn't make it all the way up to like the front. It's closer into the anus, but also they're expressing less gender dimorphic play, and when they're like 8 years old, so people are becoming less male because of endocrine disruptors. Plus, also just in general, endocrine disruptors, which include like BPAs, phthalates, dioxins, polychlorinated biphenyls, pesticides, parabens, some heavy metals, like all of these things are endocrine disruptors. They, in women, cause lower fertility, menstrual irregularities, polycystic ovary syndrome, that's PCOS, endometriosis, premature menopause, uterine and ovarian dysfunction, also increased risk of miscarriage and pregnancy complications. And in men, endocrine disruptors can just decrease sperm count and quality. They can reduce testosterone. They can cause genital malformations, like I pointed out, and also increase the risk of testicular and prostate cancers. So, I mean, it's like, okay, the SSRIs, they're just the cherry on top, but they're a cherry on top that disproportionately affects progressives, and especially progressive youth.
It almost feels like they're meant to sort of like, what's the word of this? Like numb them to the world, right? Like to make them less likely to rebel. Almost, it's like it's literally like one of the pills.
Opiate of the masses.
What was that from a show or something?
Are you serious?
Opiate of the masses. Oh, I didn't hear what you said. Yeah, no, I'm thinking more like that scene from Sliders was the pills, where everyone in society is forced to take these pills to
Imagine a world where the government regulates drugs.
What did you give her? Tranquil, standard mood elevator.
By getting everyone hooked on them.
Everybody's on something? Everybody but us.
You don't know what it's going to do to them, Damon.
Drop in, people.
Oh yeah, well, and also like there's the concept of soma in Brave New World, a soma in time saves 9. It's basically like popping a Xanax or something. Where you're just like, just chill.
A soma in time saves 9.
I love Brave New World. Brave New World. That dystopia is my utopia. Everyone takes perfumed showers. They're constantly popping Xanax, and they're just having a great time. I don't see what the problem is. They're cloned, I think, or like genetically designed to be good at their jobs and born into like their striated portion of society, but really happy to be in it. So like you can be an alpha or a beta or a gamma, and you just grow up being like, man, I'm so glad I'm not a beta, because like you're a gamma or an alpha, and you're just really happy to be what you are. You die before you get old, but also like when you're young, you go to hospitals to watch the people die. So that you're like, oh, okay, so this is how it works. And then you get like incinerated in a way that generates energy for the city. So it's all very efficient. I'm like, this is perfect. What's wrong with this? Everything's great. Like, sign me up. Where is this world? Everything, instead of like cool, their word for cool is pneumatic. Like, oh, it's so pneumatic. Everyone drives around in these cool helicopter things. Like, why do people think I just was so confused when I read this in college and went to my honors class and like trotted up and was like so excited to talk about this world. I'm like,
This
guys,
utopian world. And
how do we make this happen? Like, let's do this. Okay. Like, let's go. You do the helicopters. I'll do the soma. Like, let's we'll regroup. Someone build the conditioning chambers. They had this thing also, because this was written by Aldous Huxley right when operant conditioning was considered to be this whole new exciting thing of like, oh my gosh, like we can shape human behavior. So the whole idea was that these castes of society, the alphas and the betas and the gammas, as babies, because they were all like, they were made in artificial wombs and like sort of cloned and like made in a lab, and then they would be raised in big groups by like designated like nanny minders. And the way they were conditioned is they'd listen to these sayings over and over and over, like, I'm so glad I'm not a gamma. I'm so glad I'm not a gamma. But then like also and like, I think electrify the floors or something, or like something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but like they would expose the babies to something that they weren't supposed to like a rose or something, so they wouldn't get like overly concerned with like, I don't know, effete aesthetics or something. And then they would electrify the floor and shock all the babies. I'll build a floor shocker. But like, I loved it. I would never believe in shocking babies. So I would change that about Brave New World. No being mean to the babies, just positive reinforcement, never negative reinforcement. But
well, we do a lot of negative reinforcement with our kids.
Malcolm, I'm sorry, but it's positive reinforcement. How many times have our kids said, hit me again, daddy? And not
no, I hear some worrying things from my kids.
They literally like beg. They beg to be hit. I don't know what to say.
They'll run up and then do something like poke me and then run away and be like, come on, hit me, daddy.
I know the first thing that I go downstairs to like help Malcolm dress the kids. The first thing that happens is I get punched in the spine by one of our children. He's like, come at me, bro. Like, they just want to fight. They love it so much. Yeah, you think it's negative reinforcement? Nice try. I don't bop at all. Because
you gave up because they had too much fun with it.
I just take things away at this point. That's my whole thing. Is like, okay, you wanted to use that as a weapon, you don't have it anymore. Like it's just, that's the only thing that's working for me. I don't know what's working for you. Anyway,
oh my God, no, I can only imagine if somebody who was into like little girl daddy dom play, right? If they said the stuff that our kids say to me on a regular basis, people would be like, that's dark. Like, you need to stop. Like, don't be like, hit me, daddy. Come on.
Oh, and what the worst thing is especially now that Alexa devices, Amazon Alexa devices have updated their AI, and there's a broadcasting feature. If you have a lot of them in your house, you can use them basically as an intercom system. And it used to just be, and you can do this with a Google Home device too. Google Home device now still continues to just give a recording of your voice when you use the intercom system. But what Alexa does now is instead broadcast the message in her voice. So now it's just, it makes it sound extra sexual when our children send basic messages.
It's Alexa. It's this woman who's she's like, daddy, hey, daddy.
There's this like,
I'm getting thirsty.
Yeah. That's Daddy, I'm thirsty. It's so bad. It sounds so horrible.
But it's like an adult woman's voice.
And it's just this, yeah, because like they're trying to make like this maximally like appealing, kind of cheerful, kind of alluring female voice, except it's our children saying, Daddy, comma, stop. Like, Daddy, come down for dinner. Daddy, I'm thirsty. And it's no, I guess we're too
Daddy,
perverted.
I'm thirsty. Daddy, I'm tired of waiting. Come downstairs.
You know, it's so bad. I think maybe we're too degen for it. Like normal people would not say
Normal
this
people don't
problematic.
hear a woman's voice come on. Because I don't hear Daddy from adult women that much. Like,
No, because the only context in which adult women say that, actually, you know what? No. So like, I know that for a fact since the like 50s and 60s, this has been an issue because recall in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, what Marilyn Monroe's character refers to her partner as is Daddy in a very sexual way. Do you not remember?
I do. So, I mean, but it was still sexual.
It's extremely sexual. So it's not us being degens. It's just Alexa making everything funny. Especially when our children decide to use poop jokes.
They love going because they think that it's like a bad thing to do. So they love saying it into Alexa.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, poop, poop, poop. Poop, 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 pee, poop. And it's just Alexa, a grown woman in my room, going like, poop, 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 poop.
Daddy, poop, poop, poop. Daddy, poop.
Daddy,
poop,
poop,
face.
poop.
Poop,
And
poop.
then, because we can see on the cameras what they're doing, they turn to each other and they're so excited. I just said poop on the thing. I just did it. Can you believe I did it? And it was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. And then the other one's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll let you go. We are just going to do, so watch the video I sent you for food tonight on how to do the marinade.
Overnight marinade of the Mongolian.
It has very explicit instructions on how to handle it and then how we cook it tomorrow. In terms of what I'm eating tonight,
I'm going to do a little bit tonight. So of the marinade that's mostly for overnight, I'm going to marinate some of it for 30 minutes so that we can make the rest of the noodles for you tonight, right? To do that.
Okay, that works for me. Yeah, just throw it in with a lot of chives.
Unless there's something else you wanted tonight.
No, do we have more noodles to cook? Or
I have noodles. Well, that's the whole thing is I pre-did some of those egg noodles to have them sit in the fridge and dry out, essentially, because you really want them. You personally wanted them dry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want them to fry on the pan, you know?
Yeah. So that's why I was like, well, what happens if I refrigerate them for 1 or 2 days and then we fry them up? Will they be better? So I either have to use them or get rid of them.
No, let's go for it.
Okay. All right, then that's what I'll do with all those.
And don't forget, we've got a lot of chives left. We got new chives coming in, so you got to use
extra
the old
peppers.
chives.
Do you want me to also just do some of those new peppers that you got, mix them in with?
Oh, absolutely. But you need to cook those for a little bit. Like those actually do need to be cooked a bit.
Okay.
So you just slice
I
them
might
down
actually do those in like a separate pan, like saute them in a separate pan that doesn't produce that much smoke. Because you know how we like.
Oh yeah. How we overcook the house.
When we do anything in the wok, because we have we cook in a very old kitchen that was built like at the 200 years ago. There's no ventilation, so when I cook on the wok, our whole house is full of smoke. It smells good though.
I love you. You are amazing. And thank you for being a part of my life.
Thank you.
Good episode, by the way. I love the topic.
It's an interesting one. Yeah. Okay, off I go. I love you.
Love you too.
Okay. Oh, trivia. What was Walt Disney's favorite food?
What was Walt Disney's favorite food?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs? That's a good old American food there.
When he was building Disneyland, when it was under construction, he insisted on calling all the attractions weenies. So he's like, we got a weenie here, we got a weenie there. Like he just referred to them as weenies. He was a strange man. His obsession with trains actually predated the creation of Disneyland. He had a giant train set in his backyard. I mean, it was big, like it was enough where you could ride in it. He actually shut it down after some party at his house where it like someone was driving it too fast and it derailed and the girl got hurt. I mean, she was okay, but she was burned by the steam. So But yeah, he was a train obsessive.
It was
and
a
that's
steam engine too. And
yeah,
she
no, it was a
crashed
steam.
it.
No, he liked old, loud, clanky trains. In fact, that train that goes around Disneyland in Anaheim, you know, the original Disneyland, when he went on the first test drive of it, he was irate with the team that built it. Do you know why?
It's too quiet.
Yes, it was too quiet, and they had to explain to him. They're like, "Well, it's a new, well-built train," and he's like, "Make it louder!" And they had to literally take the engine apart and put it together shoddily, so that it was noisy.
But he's right. That's their real experience. That's
No,
what
it's
people
true.
want.
Like he really understood. The word that came to mind was mouthfeel. He really understood like
the mouth feel of Disney,
the patina that you need to have that experience of this authentic American thing. Yeah, like a train that wasn't loud and clinky and noisy wouldn't feel authentic in the same way. So I just love that. Weenies.
That is hilarious.
Okay, what are you guys working on? What is this that you're drawing?
I'm drawing my Christmas tree with Among Us present with Among Us plushie.
Oh, so you want Among Us presents?
Yeah, I want Among Us plushie for Christmas.
What about you, Indy? You got anything you're up to?
Yep.
Torsten? Octavian, earlier this morning you said the mice are retreating. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the mice are retreating.
How do you know they're retreating?
Because they'll die from the mousetrap. The men don't die from the mousetrap stack.
That makes sense. So I got a question for you. Can you tell people to like and subscribe? What will they get if they like and subscribe?
We are gonna make if you like and subscribe, then we are gonna actually make another cube with a new person that was me. Dun, 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 with that. Yeah.
So you're gonna come to their house in a cube?
No, there's gonna be another wine box, and I'm gonna be in the video. I'm gonna be in the video because you gave us comments about you really making me in the video. So if we put you in the video, then you will get a double subscribers, and I will also bring the like and subscribe button if we get it on one video.
That makes a lot of sense, Octavian.
Yeah. So if you like and subscribe, you get in that video. Well, you need a ticket, and the ticket is if you actually did like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, and tell me in the comment below, actually send me for real life.